and pretty soon we'll be live behind the scenes.
Now, let me just get this right in terms of, I've got a couple bios for you.
Okay.
And some of them say that you're a real estate investor, but you manage 100 properties. And because of that scaling, you started Rocket Station.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that was probably for a real estate specific.
Hang on a minute. I think we're playing
that,
a video or something's going on. Is that yours? Some of them say that you're a real estate investor. Oh, shoot. Is that mine? Where's that coming from?
It sounds like you guys have a loop over there somewhere.
Yeah, there's a loop. It was coming out of our TV and our computer. We're live on YouTube right now. So we're ready. We're ready to rock and ready to roll.
All right. Well, today on the Digital CEO show, we have someone who is one of the top specialists in the world of virtual assistants, VAs, and BPO, business process outsourcing. And he runs Rocket Station, which is the leading provider of outsourced staffing and process management for the business process outsourcing industry. Wow, that's a lot to say. In Dallas since 2013, Rocket Station helps small to mid-sized businesses hire virtual teams with efficiency and profitability. Simplified staffing allows operators to focus on core competencies and outsource the rest. Robert started his career as an entrepreneur in real estate, which positioned him to support many real estate entrepreneurs and established firms who are struggling with staffing and human resources. Robert and his team's strength in evaluating best practices and efficient ways to staff capacity has continued to propel Rocket Station, I love that name, when not helping clients build better businesses. You'll find Robert traveling the world or hanging out with his nephews in Dallas. So welcome to the show, Robert.
Dennis, been a big fan of all that you do. So really appreciate you having me on. Appreciate your time. And I'm honored to be here. We as a company have been following a lot of your stuff for a really long time. So my team was super excited that I was getting to spend some time with you because you're a celebrity within our organization. So really appreciate you guys and all that you do.
And Robert and everyone else who's listening, this is an issue that is near and dear to my heart and to Tristan's heart, which is how do we get the repeatable crap, that daily stuff off of our plate so we can focus on becoming better business people.
And getting it executed excellently, getting it executed reliably, competently, and having the systems and functions and people in place to be able to do that and help us.
And if you're a one-man show and you're working really hard, or a one-woman show and you want to be able to scale and you find yourself busy and working so hard but still not having enough time, what you're going to hear today from Robert is something that is going to be a lifesaver. So stay tuned, everybody. So Robert, I grew up in, did you know I went to SMU? I lived in Dallas for 8 years.
Did you really? I did not know that. I had no idea.
Ran track and field. Yeah, D1 and cross country. And this was before they built all that extra stuff there. And I went back and forth between Dallas and Fort Worth and got my start at American Airlines because the CEO there was my mentor. And the thing that I learned the most about American was about process. And even though people complain about planes being late and the bags, showing up on the next flight, what was amazing is that the planes didn't crash. They could be delayed. A flight attendant wouldn't show up, and they still found another way to be able to operate. And thus, the operating process is what I've learned across my career in the last 30 years. Tell me, how do companies build solid operations? How do they make it so that they can get repeatable excellence? What are the most common mistakes you see them making, and how do they overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I am the poster child for the most common mistakes that people make, which is really the impetus for why we created this organization. Because like you mentioned, most people understand that they have some pain points in their business. They have some need for some help. But being able to get reliable help that's competent, that is consistent and produces the outcomes and the output that you're looking for, it's a whole lot easier said than done. And when I first started trying to hire teams, I think I did it the same way everyone else does, which is have some pain, throw somebody at the problem, and then just hope for the best. And our expertise in systems and processes and being able to build scopes and manuals and all the training that it takes to actually effectively manage someone and to hire great teams came from my lack and my inabilities of having that structure and systems and processes within my own business. So I wish I could say this was something that I just always understood, Dennis, and I just got right out of the gates as becoming an entrepreneur, how important systems and processes were. But it was really through my failures and my struggles that I learned not only how important systems and processes are, but it's really why we created the company that we have, is to eliminate the problems that most people experience and go through whenever they're trying to reach productivity and reach success. And for me, the reason employing people was so difficult, the reason hiring people was so hard, yes, there's a lot of work, it's a long checklist, there's a lot of things you have to do. But if you don't have structure in place, then the roadmap for success isn't really there. So expectations for employees to be able to perform well is just totally unreasonable and not aligned with reality. So the impetus for us becoming truly workforce management experts and becoming experts in systems and processes is because I understood after doing it the wrong way for many, many years in my own businesses that that is truly the foundation for success. Without having really strong systems and processes, then everything else just kind of falls down from there.
So there's a lot of BPO, a lot of outsourcing in India and the Philippines. When should someone hire from the United States versus offshore?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I think a few years ago, it was the lines were a little bit clearer because technology wasn't as good as it is today. I mean, technology is so amazing today. Everybody's familiar with email and Dropbox and Google Drive and those types of things, right? But nowadays, almost, even Fortune 500 companies, their entire infrastructure is done through an internet-based system. So that's their phone systems, their entire communication channels, their databases, everything is done through an internet-based system. So the connectivity is truly amazing. So what used to be out of reach for most small businesses, and I think that's why so many people have had a terrible experience with BPO, is because the only thing we really know about it is buying a computer from Dell in the late 90s and having a horrible experience with customer service. Or, even today, I bought a TV from Best Buy during Black Friday, right? They took my money. Well, dealing with customer support to get that thing delivered and installed was a terrible experience. So I think that's where most people, when they think of BPO, when they think of outsourcing, when they think of delegate, they think of the call centers and they think of these terrible experiences that they've had with these giant companies who don't really care about the customer experience and don't really care about the same customer journey that smaller businesses tend to have to. So when should you offshore versus? It used to be a matter of quality, and today it's really just about what the job functions and the roles are. So within our organization at Rocket Station, almost every single role is overseas. So from IT to back office support and inside sales and administrative, like there's not really anything that's done in the day-to-day that's not done. We're headquartered in Dallas. We have a big office in Manila that hosts over 700 people there in Manila. And it's, we're 14 in Dallas and 700 in the Philippines. So what jobs are required? Our leadership team, our strategic team, our legal team for the most part is here, but the entire workforce for the most part is in the Philippines. So I think some of that, Dennis, has to do with personal preference, but it's not really because of quality. It's not really because of technology anymore. It really today just has to do with your ability to get connected with the right workforce and the right talent to be able to fulfill those jobs.
And to double it down to a function, like you said, you have very basically crystal clear roles for people, because at the start of this, you said unreasonable expectations. Oftentimes when a business owner or a manager get up to the level where they need some help, they might throw anybody to the flame, and they have completely unreasonable expectations, because even in this moment, I don't know exactly what you're thinking or exactly what Dennis is thinking. So as an employee, how would it be fair for me to be able to know what to do next? And to be able to put things into processes that are so airtight that it's either a process or a people quality issue allows you to make objective decisions. And Dennis has worked with some of the largest companies on earth, and he's been sharing a wealth of knowledge with me over the past few months about some of that experience. And it always comes back to a people quality issue against a proven process. But if you don't have that proven process, you can't really blame people.
The super
and
VA,
I think so
right?
many. And it's just like, we put everybody through the same two-step process. And that first step is actually that what we call that alignment phase, that discovery phase, which is actually developing those systems and processes. And oftentimes we get a little bit of pushback because people just want to run, right? But it's like, without clearly defining what the outcomes are supposed to be and then how to get there, then how do you even know what the perfect fit or the right person in the right seat even looks like? It's like you're behind from the very beginning. So, you mentioned really large companies. You would think that really large companies are just amazing with systems and processes. And American Airlines absolutely is. That's a fact. I left my computer in the back of the seat in front of me. Within 3 days, American Airlines had that computer at my condo door, and I was able to have my computer back. So for all the complaints that people have, I mean, talk about a logistical master and just amazing. Those people are incredible, right? Just the complexity and the amount of variables they're using. But I can't tell you, Dennis, the number of times we walk into Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 50 companies, and they're the same way. Very few systems and processes, very little structure. They've got some great teams, and the way they solve problems is just throw more people at the problem.
Exactly.
And like you guys mentioned, if you start with the foundation, which is systems and processes and structure, now efficiency is possible. Now the performance of your team is going to be elevated. Now the efficiency of the business is just going to be exponential end to end. So yes, we're a staffing company. That's how we make our money, is by staffing you. But the goal is to not just put bodies at the problem. The goal is to run a clean, efficient, profitable business. So that's why we force everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a really big company or you're an entrepreneur that's just kind of getting started. We force you through those couple steps of the system and process development before we go find a person, because we believe that really is the foundation to success.
And we're hiring tons of VAs. Tristan made 2 job posts yesterday. What were they for?
We had a Google Ads expert and an executive assistant to be able to support Dennis and I call to call. Yesterday, we had 13 calls. Today, we've had another 7, but they're larger chunks. So we've been at it for several hours. And there's little functions in there that happen. As you know, you've probably ran a lot of meetings before, during, and after a meeting. There's a lot that has to happen, but we're going meeting to meeting. We had a call just before this and a call just before that, right? And on Google, that's a function of ads, that we run for clients. That's very checklistable.
And a lot of us are running. Go ahead.
So I was just saying, I would be lost without my EA, right? So Marianne, the reason I'm here today and the reason we got connected is we have a mutual friend that's amazing. But to actually get us on this call, it's 4 or 5 emails plus scheduling. You guys are super busy. My schedule's full too. So Marianne, I mean, you talked about one meeting. How many promises do you make on a meeting? How many different items do people just casually mention? Yes, I'll follow up with that. I'll check in. Yes, we'll do that. It's just this constant commitment that people rarely take notes on. So, I mean, I'm all about progress. I'm all about getting to where we're trying to go. But without clean structure, with having executive assistants and people like that, I would be totally lost. But again, the way Marianne works and the way she knows how to run the day-to-day on my behalf is because we've worked at creating a process to be able to make that happen. So whether it's an EA or our marketing managers, it starts with great process, and then to go find the rock star becomes a whole lot easier.
Well, everyone wants a Marianne. Yeah, I know we need like 10 of them. And for all of us that are agency owners and entrepreneurs that are listening to the Digital CEO Show, tell us, Robert, what does it cost to have a Marianne?
So it's for us, it's $10 an hour. It's just, we just do flat fee billing. So we've got an interesting thing going in that, there's lots of BPOs, there's lots of staffing companies out there, but we are really going for a really specific type of team member. We're screening over 6,000 applicants a month, and we're hiring less than 2% of those. And the reason is because we want the Mariannes of the world. We want somebody to be responsible. They've got to be accountable, and they've got to be able to get to the outcomes of where we're trying to go. And it's the same expectations for our US based staff. It's just a little bit different culture gap that we have to bridge there. And so our idea is that when our teams are representing you, or like Marianne representing me, the idea would be for you to not have any idea that Marianne's in the Philippines. She needs to function as if she's sitting right here in Dallas. So we like to think that is in some ways our USP, what makes us unique. And part of what we do, that you mentioned fees, is we pay really well our team members. So we give them a great quality of living. They get full benefits. They get life insurance. They get healthcare. They get all the benefits that any employee would need to have the stability in their day-to-day so that they can perform really well at work. But part of our what makes us unique is the infrastructure around finding the right people. So you mentioned some of these different roles, whether it's an EA or whether it's a marketing manager for your Google ad platform or whether it's your Facebook platform. That's a specific role. So once we go through that discovery phase, we're working really hard. We've got a platform. We've got hundreds of team members that go through what we call boot camp. It's a 4 to 8 week program so that we can know not only are these the right core value fit, because we're great at getting amazing people that fit culturally as far as our core values are concerned, but skill sets and performance takes a little bit of time to learn that from somebody, right? Like within the first week or two, you're not going to really know how somebody's going to perform. It takes 30, 60 days usually to kind of get up to speed. And do our clients want to take 30, 60 days to figure out if this is going to be a great team? Heck no, not even close. So we eat all of that so that whenever you interview on our end 3, 4, 5 candidates to fit that perfect role that we've just outlined for you, you can have all the confidence in the world that this person has the skill sets that you need. You just got to find the right personality to now fit your organization, because we want you to like that person and enjoy working with them.
Right.
So that's really our structure. So we're $10 an hour. It costs $10 an hour to get a Marianne. But what it's really about is the value add that we're trying to bring to the organization. We're trying to truly be partners with our clients so that they can run the best businesses possible.
So we have thousands of agency owners that follow us for training on digital marketing, and they want to hire a virtual assistant, and they would love to be able to, if they could just hire through Rocket Station. Is there a path that you would recommend for our friends who are starting and scaling their digital agency where it's primarily them and they want to talk to the clients, but they need someone who can go through our training to be able to set up things like Google Ads? Maybe that's a separate person, another person to set up appointments, another person to run reports, or another person to do video editing. What is your recommendation for them? Do they have to hire 6 VAs?
Do they have to come with a certain set of qualifications? What
it
need to be
like
I
hate to use the answer it depends, but it kind of depends on where you are structurally, right?
Yeah.
Like if in most organizations, they're not as big as yours. So it's harder to have one person just doing a single task all day long, because most organizations aren't large enough to have just singular task focused employees. So whenever you go through a development phase and you really map out the structure of what task management is supposed to really look like, we now have a number. We've got data. We have a metric to show exactly how many people should be performing those tasks. So you mentioned, ad management. Yeah, that's great. But there's lots of other things happening usually within the day-to-day. So our team actually wants to perform a time study on what's happening within your business. So to answer your question specifically, I don't have anything for sale for anyone, right? This is just a value add. This is like, there's no offer here. There's no pitch. And I haven't talked to my development team, but I don't know if there's anything more valuable. I don't think I could offer anything more valuable than just for any of your listeners, anybody who's associated with you guys, I'd be happy for our development team to spend a few minutes just answering questions. And I think that would be the biggest value that I could offer, is our team truly is workforce management experts. So any of your agency owners who are like, hey, I kind of get this outsourcing stuff, but how does it apply to me specifically in my business? That's in 30, 45 minutes, our team could answer almost any questions that you have. So that's what I would really, really recommend. If this is kind of piquing anybody's interest, you don't have to hire our teams. You don't have to be interested in hiring our staff or going through our programs. That's totally fine. If we can help you and we can help you design and build the business that you intended to create, that's my mission. That's what I'm here to do, is to enhance lives through better business. So I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in that, just spend a few minutes with our development team. I'll give them a heads up right after this call that they're going to be reaching out. But where people should start, and I think you were kind of alluding to that, like there's so many things going on the day-to-day. Where should somebody actually start with delegating some of these tasks? I like to just think about utilization. So what is highest and best use of your time? What is highest and best use of your team's time? Let's narrow that down to a few tasks, because when you look at it, we can only really do a couple things throughout the day and do those well. And it consumer, I mean, whether it's your emotional capacity, I mean, really, you just have time to do a couple things every day. You guys are on these calls all day long. You're taking.
That's our thing right now.
Yeah, if you made a bunch of commitments outside of these calls during the day, you would either drop the ball or have to have somebody execute that, right? So the first thing that we like to do is evaluate everything that's happening in the organization, and let's utilize the current team to its maximum capacity. So the first things, like what should be the first things that you delegate or outsource? I think it's the things that would impact your team the most. What are revenue generating activities in business? Where are the biggest bottlenecks? What is impeding success within your organization? How can we maximize the utility of your current team members, even if that's just you yourself? And then we can start picking off the task and the items that are not highest and best use of your time. Does it mean that they're not important? No, every task usually is super important in the business, but does it mean it's your task to do, or does it mean that it's no, probably not. It's somebody else can perform those and perform those at a high level. But we first just need to define what's best use of your time, and then we can start picking out what would allow for the most momentum from there to be able to propel the organization forward.
So we do a lot of behind the scenes, and I think people appreciate when we're talking about real issues, and I know you're amenable to this. So I want to just go ahead and ask, Tristan and I, as agency owners, we suffer from a lot of behind the scenes execution, which almost no agency owner will admit because they only want to show the glamorous sorts of pieces. And we spend a lot of time doing repetitive things. Our mutual friends, who I won't name, also suffer from those same things. Let me ask you, do you think it's possible? I'm putting you kind of on the spot because we're live. We have an operations process that arguably needs to be tuned up a little bit, that says exactly how we do everything. Is it possible we could test with you guys and maybe just hire a few VAs to have your team? We have it documented how we want to build Google Ads, how we edit videos, how we transcribe them, how we post them to YouTube, how we run ads on Facebook using the $1 a day strategy, how we create blog posts, how we create reports using our various tools. I would love to be able to run that stuff through Rocket Station.
Yeah, I would love for you to stress test us. Yeah, I would love for you to stress test us. There's so many people have so many questions and reservations about the process, which are totally valid and fair. I mean, I don't know anything about your audiences personally, but I can assume that if they're anything like me, and they probably are, in that we eat, breathe, and sleep our businesses, right? And the business is not the why. It's not the reason we wake up every day. It's usually the vehicle, the tool that gets us to what we actually care about and what we're trying to accomplish, whether that's being a better spouse, a better parent, a better son or brother, or that's usually what people really, really care about. And the business is just a tool. It's just a vehicle to get there. And I would love for you to experiment on our team and stress test our team a little bit and see if there was some ways to be able to add value. And then that, because to me, that's what it's all about, right? It's either a value proposition or it's not a relationship at all. So I would be honored if you'd let me do that.
Yeah, we should pay our friend Jeremy a commission.
Well, I've got Jeremy is, he's awesome. And for those listening who are like, who the heck are Jeremy? He's a mutual friend he has a PR company, and he's connected us. And it was a little bit surreal whenever he connected us, Dennis, because we've been following y'all stuff for so long now, right? My team was freaking out. But yeah, he's running a PR company, and we booked Jeremy, and I'm not letting him go because he's so amazing and getting guys like you hooked up. But part of the deal, Dennis, if I can toot my horn a little bit, the reason Jeremy is connecting me with guys like you is because he's seen all the success that we're having with the people that he continuously refers over. So out of the last 18
done that.
Toot that horn.
I've seen him do that multiple times over the years. Yeah.
So
he's a real deal in the world of digital.
And to me, that's the biggest compliment that I could get is that referral network system, because it just means that we're performing. It means the trust that we're building is real and valid. So would love to get a chance to work with your organization. I would be honored.
Have you ever done a deal in a live podcast?
This is the first time. I love
right now.
The first one live
now. So tell me if you agree to this deal, or let's figure out what the terms of this deal are.
Okay.
We're going to outsource or insource part of our operations, not everything, to your team as a stress test. And I would love to document along the way on how we're building our process and tuning it, how your team is able to follow some of the checklist items that we have. Some of it we have to simplify or eliminate or tune, and show the world this is how a digital agency that serves chiropractors operates. We have
Would love
73
that.
clients. Everything's driven in these packages. And the beauty is with our other, here's the thing, Robert. In the world of digital agencies, in the last couple of years, there's been a bifurcation. There's been a shift into American account managers who have the relationships with the clients. And then the work, as you know, can be done increasingly offshore because of technology and Wi-Fi being stronger and that kind of thing. And thus, we launched this program in March with Vendasta and Digital Marketer, where we made our training free for anyone who wanted to start their digital marketing agency. And so they understand relationships. They're real estate agents. Maybe they're not selling homes right now, or they got laid off because of what happened with the kind of business they were in before. But thousands of people want to start their digital marketing agency, serving people in their community. And they're good at relationships. They're good at the interpersonal side, but they suck when it comes to WordPress and ads and editing videos and the things that are really, not to stereotype VAs, but VAs are really good at. What would be ideal is that by demonstrating Rocket Station doing this for us, we show a clear path for all of these other folks who are maybe smaller, they're individuals, to be able to leverage Rocket Station and our training in the same way. Yep. And we've built training with onlineshops.ph. John Jonas is a friend. John Arana with Negocios University, he's also huge. They're friends. Like, we're all friends with each other. So it's not like you're a competitor. It's not like Digital Marketer is a competitor. We're all friends. And we've hired hundreds of VAs directly ourselves, but we could certainly go through you guys, or even go through an Ode or Upwork, or, Fiverr, Fancy Hands, that kind of thing. But I would love to show our community how things work, so that someone else who's gone through our certification in the United States to be an account manager, to start up their little agency, serving people in their town, or serving real estate agents, or serving, naturopaths,
chiropractors, dentists, local businesses in general. They need our help, and they need help from other agencies.
And there's a clear pathway. We don't want people, Robert, to fall down the same path, and make the same mistakes every single time, because we already know what they have to do. Because if you're a digital marketing agency, you've got to drive more patients, leads, and sales, more people coming into your store, even with coronavirus and that kind of stuff going on. I would love to figure out something that, because you already know what the roles are, right? We've done.
I'll take a step further with you. I think we should create once we prove it with your organization, right? Step one, we'll stress test it and prove it, and get your confidence where you are super excited about all the things that we can do for you. And then we could create a digital CEO certified program on our end.
Oh yeah,
where we could work.
Double down live right here.
We could have a team structure that would be specifically built around these concepts, where people could come and handpick out of digital CEO certified team members that have gone through essentially the same certification process and could knock it out of the park. So once we prove it with you guys, we'll create a certification process with our team. And then you guys can, since you own the relationships, we'll just work out a way where once it's proven the model, you can get that to your people to help however would be the best way possible.
This might be the best podcast we've been on all day.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a little surreal. I keep saying it, and your listeners probably think I'm full of hot air, but we've been implementing the $1 a day principle for a while now, and some of the other things, because it works. And the difference between success and not for most people is simply implementation. It's execution. It's very rarely a knowledge gap. Most people know what to do. Most people know what they're supposed to be doing, but there's only so many hours in the day. And there's a lot of things that have to get done. So where we bridge is that gap right there. It's just about implementation. It's just about execution. And then the business takes care of itself from there.
So I've got one final question for you, because Dennis and I catch ourselves doing this. And this happens to all CEOs, all entrepreneurs. We break our own rules, right? So having teams, systems, processes, employees, they help us from breaking our own rules so we can move forward and set new rules for the company, right? And we find ourselves making common manager mistakes, which we know we're about to fix. And we'll iron out the details after we get off the live as well, too. What is the number one mistake, in your opinion, that people make when hiring VAs? Because you double screen, but even after the fact, what is the number one mistake that people make as managers of teammates?
we've already said it, okay, but so I'm going to give two, okay, just so people don't just think I'm saying the same things over here. The number one mistake is not having enough structure when someone starts, okay, not having systems and processes for them to be able to execute and go implement, right? So that would be number one. And I would, no matter what, I would say that, I mean, it's just by far the biggest issue is lack of structure and infrastructure for people to be successful from the beginning. The second big mistake is people want to discount the onboarding process. Those first couple weeks of getting someone up to speed, you ought to encourage questions. You ought to encourage engagement. You ought to encourage over communication, because during that time, that's when you're really gonna, I mean, we've all started new jobs. We've all had to walk into a new office. It's scary. There's a lot of unknowns. And our team members, like everyone else, they want to do a good job. They want to perform well. They want the clients to be excited about what they're doing every day. So if you work with us, we'll help you create an amazing onboarding program, and we'll help you do that. But if you're not going to get any help, I would just highly recommend thinking about actually putting a plan in place about what onboarding in that initial few weeks of training and that initial few weeks of integration into your company, what does that really look like? What are the expectations? How are they supposed to perform and function? You need to really set clear expectations for your team members, and then give them a platform to get feedback and ask questions and be able to integrate. And if that's done correctly, within a couple weeks, your team ought to be running smooth. But so many times people just go hire without having systems and processes. They throw people in the fire. There's no onboarding. There's no clarity. There's no roadmap. And then people talk about employees suck and it's hard to manage people, and finding a good person just so miserable, right? Then all the waterfall of tears just start about people, and it's really from a lack of on the business owners end.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Guilty as charged.
Yep.
So
and you conquer both. That's a part of the setup.
So we talked about the process where you're qualifying and screening and bringing these people on before they even get to the interview stage. We talked about the onboarding and making sure that the client has a clear process that the VA can fit into. What about the ongoing management of the virtual assistants and the check-in?
So
people don't know how to manage, and plus you have someone on the other side of the planet, they don't know what to do to manage that. You need to have training on how to manage the VA.
Yeah, so if you're going to do it yourself, there's a few things I would highly recommend, and we implement. So if you hire a company like ours, we stay with you for the life of the account. So even when the team members are running perfectly smooth, we're with you along the way, and mostly that's for anticipation, because we want to identify any potential issues or areas for improvement long before you even sense that or feel that, because we understand that we truly are the workforce management experts, and most people are not. They're good businesses, but they're not true workforce management experts. So that's why we stay with you for the life of the account. We want to make sure that it's not just about that initial success. It's about continuing that success for the life of the relationship. But if you're gonna do it yourself, man, there's a few things, especially virtually. Okay, so over communication is key. When you're in an office, information seems to just kind of flow, right? Try to keep a secret in a traditional office, or try to hide that you're dating somebody or whatever in the office, and oh my gosh, information flies around, right? It just kind of happens. So you have to be intentional about recreating some of that. So we not only have start of day and end of day reports for all of our team. Whenever you log in, you send what you're going to accomplish for that day, and when you log out, you send what you actually accomplished for that day. That's basic. But there's a few other things that you can add in there as well when I talk about over communication. We do most of our communicating in Zoom. It's our VoIP system, it's our chat, it's our task management. We do a lot through the integrated Zoom system. But every team member every day in their chat rooms, whenever they log in, they say good morning and they check in. It's trying to kind of recreate that feel of the morning when everybody's walking in. When people are there. When people are
Dolores
leaving.
brings the coffee and the donuts for everybody.
So that routine you can recreate virtually. You just have to be intentional about it. So everybody starts their day by checking in, saying hello, and sharing some personal story about how their kids are, what happened the night before, and that comes across as just like a camaraderie rah, but really it's kind of replicating that personal accountability, right? We treat our workstations the same virtually as we do in office. There's no food and drink at the stations. You have to dress the same way you would when you go into it. So you have to behave and perform the same way, but then we hold our team members accountable to that, right?
Wow.
So throughout the entire day, what usually would feel like small wins, we celebrate every one of those. And yes, it's to celebrate wins, but even more than that, it's about transparency. It's about alignment. So if you like right now, I can click the sales thread, the sales group chat, and there's several hundred messages from today in there. It's because there's different team members with different roles. And every time they hit a landmark or a successful spot, they post that in the room. Yes, to celebrate the win, but to also get everyone aligned to what's happening. So there's tons of energy and tons of communication. So that communication and that personal accountability that tends to just kind of happen within a traditional office, we're intentional about recreating that virtually. So all the same things that happen in the office, if you put a little bit of effort to it, you have a strategy for how you approach that, and then you're consistent with it, you can replicate the exact same structure, the same culture, the same accountability as you do within an office.
Everyone needs to hear what you're saying, Robert.
I know.
I feel like I've won the lottery. This
yeah,
is great.
we're going to be sharing this everywhere. Not only striking a deal live, but you are pouring out so much gold for everybody, whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, because there's lessons you can take if you're a number 2 or number 3 in a company.
Yeah.
If you're, an executive manager right now, like with a small team, or if you're just getting started with a company working virtually right now, which most people are, then there's so many nuggets to take of recreating culture when you're away, getting that power of proximity, even though you're away, and little notes for everyone to take, not just for owners, but for members of teams and members of organizations to really be a team player. One of the jobs that we created last night, we even had, in the subject line, are you a team player who loves helping groups win? Because that's really what it's about, is making people understand we're on the same team, especially now. It's not, they're employees and employers. It's not, this account group sales and marketing, and they've got to, butt heads. It's not that. We're all on the same team. And if we're in the same organization, we have the same clients. So we have the same duty to serve them and to do our best. And I think people have lost sight of that while trying to fend for themselves and trying to figure all this out. So the fact that you guys are bringing that together at Rocket Station makes me happy. Like, I'm charged up right now. I feel great.
Well, you literally just gave the formula for success. Is there a formula for success? Absolutely. It starts with systems and processes, right? And then you have to have, that creates clarity around the task management. So you can create expectations with your employees. And then your responsibility as the business owner is to paint the vision, the picture of where the whole organization's going. So each team member is responsible for themselves, of course, but that alignment, like you're talking about across the organization, that is where the whole team is going as a group. And if I could give you my job, like if I had really one job to summarize what I do as the CEO in my organization, that is to make sure that our team is constantly on the same tracks, headed in the same direction, right? So it's our managers' jobs to make sure that each person is held accountable and has clear expectations about their daily task management. It's my job to make sure that the entire organization sees the big picture and we're all headed in the same direction.
It's like talking to the Wizard of Oz, because you are the scaler of other people's scaling systems, right? So if you're helping other businesses grow and growing your business, what I want to hear from the master of the master is, what is your process for identifying and training managers? Because you've got 700 VAs, you've got to have managers of managers. How do you find these
When you were at
people?
American Airlines, how many layers were there?
We had 14 layers of management between the CEO.
We do not have 14 layers of management, I can tell you that. But yeah, the management team is the core of our organization, and they are the beating heart of what we do. We are a middleman. We are at the service of our clients. Our job is to get our client partners to the outcomes, the expectations, to where they're trying to go. It doesn't have anything to do with us. We're just getting our clients where they want to be and to get the business that they intended to create. That's our job. That's our mission. It doesn't have anything to do with us, which is why I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world, because I get to work with amazing organizations every single day and help them get where they're trying to go. I mean, it could not be more fun to wake wake up every day and make that happen. But the management piece, I mean, to be totally candid with you, that's where the majority of our true energy and emotional capacity goes when talking about building Rocket Station as an organization, is making sure mid-level management is stellar. So we do that a couple of ways. We like to promote from within whenever possible. So when team members have proven themselves, when they have expressed a desire to be in a leadership role, when they've really worked through that, to us, that's an earned position. We don't give leadership positions away. We don't just grant that. It's not a product of time. It's not a product of service. It's a combination of all of those things. Just because you've been here a long time does not entitle you to a manager or leadership level position. I mean, we are insane about who we bring into leadership and management, because people want to talk about culture all the time. To me, culture is having a group of people following the same rules and reaching a successful outcome. You're going to have an amazing culture if everybody's following the same rules and the team's winning. There will not be any negativity in the organization, I can promise, right? So how do you get everyone following the same rules? That's through mid-level management. It's not my job to police the organization. It's not my job to hold teams accountable. It's our managers that lead the organization from that way, holding everyone accountable, including their peers. And now it's a peer-on-peer accountability system that's all led from our management team. They believe in me, they believe in our mission, they believe in where we're trying to go, but it's up to our management team to actually go execute and implement that vision. And that's why we're so insane about that process with management. So we like to promote internally whenever possible. And whenever we're not promoting internally, we do some pretty extensive recruiting campaigns. I mean, we're on LinkedIn like crazy, headhunting. And even then, when we bring people in, we have a pretty extensive probation period. So you come in and you learn arm in arm and side by side with the team. And you've got to come integrate and prove yourself to be not only a great core value culture fit, but also to have that winning mindset. It's about outcomes. It's about getting our clients where they're trying to go. It's not about me. It's not about them. It's not about any of the individuals within our organization. They've got to be focused on the mission. So I wish there was an easy, sexy answer I could give you about mid-level management. For us, it just comes from a lot of work and a lot of effort trying to make that just the most amazing team on the planet.
And like us all, it comes from a lot of trial and error.
Exactly.
Figuring it out.
That's exactly right.
We appreciate that you're figuring it out for organizations, even like ours, and the entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs that listen to Digital CEO and also follow Dennis, follow myself. The biggest thing that we need, our psychological paradigm, the same one that you have, is to help. We're here to help. Like you have said this multiple times. It's clearly in your mission statement to help entrepreneurs have the business that they intended to create, run the business that they intended to create. And oftentimes as founders, we get pulled away further and further from our intentions because we're trying to run and multiple teams. And the fact that you're building up, scaling within scaling, and internal organization within the organization, you're taking a big job, a big task for entrepreneurs and founders, and everyone should definitely be using Rocket Station.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a really famous story. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are great friends, and most people are aware of that. And they were sitting in the same house one time, and I don't remember if it was Warren Buffett or Bill Gates' dad, asked them to separately write down the key to their success. So they hadn't talked about it. They had just one word. What is the key to your success? And they both wrote focus. Okay. And what you just described is the ability of the owner, the entrepreneur, of the business owner, or even the leadership team, for them to be able to focus on what the priorities and the most important things are. And the rest of the team can then go execute. And now you've got just massive momentum and an energy within your organization that is truly unstoppable because you're focused on the mission as the leader. And then your team can go execute in a day-to-day in a very confident, clear, concise way. And now all of a sudden the energy in your organization is truly unstoppable.
So Robert, when you were starting out, now you've got this organization, you've got a strong middle management, you've got 700 people, but when you're only a few people, how did you deal with the competing demands of lots of clients and lots of VAs and lots of people that they needed help and you want to help all of them, but pretty soon you find that you don't have enough time to do all the tech support for all the people that want to talk to you directly?
Yeah, my biggest issue for the longest time was I was the bottleneck in our organization.
Mm.
I held myself way too, I thought of myself as way too important in the organization. And if I wasn't essentially approving everything that was happening or being a part of everything, then it wasn't getting done. And I initially thought that that was a quality thing or a memory, but really that was just my ego getting in the way. And I'd worked so hard, and it makes sense. Like whenever you're investing your life, your energy, your money, your spouse's trust, whatever you're investing, everything that it takes to create that. I mean, I think it's super common for us as entrepreneurs and business owners to kind of stick our head in places where it doesn't really belong. And what would have allowed me to scale faster earlier, would have allowed me to get to where we are today a whole lot faster, would have been removing myself from that process. So my biggest issue personally early on was just being the bottleneck in too many of the systems and processes. I just thought I had to be a part of too much that was going on. The day that we actually changed this organization and could actually fulfill our mission was the day that I started creating clear maps for people to be able to support and actually go execute and fulfill that mission. It didn't have to be me. If I'm answering every phone call, if I'm responding to every email, then we have a very, very short ceiling that we're going to be able to reach. So for me and our organization, it was all just about getting myself out of the way.
Wow. Fantastic.
Well,
What an answer.
That's a mic drop.
That is.
I'm so glad that we connected, Robert.
This was a lot of fun.
I'm excited to also work with you guys and document this path. I think the digital entrepreneur is here to stay. And whether you run a digital agency or you need digital in your business because you're a chiropractor and you need more
help.
people to come, they have pain and they don't know about you. What words of wisdom would you have for our local business owners, for example, because we have several thousand of those, and they've heard about virtual assistants. They're scared of hiring somebody. They know they need to have systems and processes, but they don't have those. They're busy working on dealing with patients and customers, but they know that they're doing a lot of repetitive things like answering the phone themselves and so forth, right?
Yeah. So I hate to sound like a sales guy here, but I truly think that you should reach out and get a little bit of help. And again, you don't have to hire us, and you don't even have to get help from us. There's other companies that do some similar stuff to what we do. I just feel like the quality in what we provide is second to none. But there's other organizations. I think that if people will, that we spend so much time doing continuing education, all the private practice practitioners you just mentioned, the amount of time they spend working in the business is truly incredible. And so what I would recommend is taking a few steps back, getting somebody like us that can help you see the organization in its entirety and have a little bit of fresh set of eyes. And this is our expertise, right? Like you're a digital CEO. If you're a dentist, you're amazing at drilling teeth, right? But you may not be the best at customer support. It's the same way like we have publicly traded software companies that build amazing software. They're just not that great at creating an amazing client experience once somebody signs up. So what do? They reach out to us because that's what we do, is create amazing customer journeys. So, the net promoter score for a publicly traded software is going up multiple points in a very short period of time because we're crafting that experience for people. So it doesn't matter how good you are at your business. It doesn't matter what you have going on. To reach out to somebody that's an expert in workforce management does it a little bit differently than you're probably used to. Even if it's just to get some feedback and get some advice, I think goes a long ways. And again, you don't have to hire us. Just spend some time with us and we'll give you everything that we've got.
Figure out what you need. Yeah. And that's a sign of a quality business, to be able to qualify and then be able to refer out if it's not a good fit. And the fact that you're willing to open that up, not just for our listeners, but to the world, to be able to say, if you need help with your business, come to Rocket Station and figure it out with somebody on the team, or we'll refer you to a place that's better if it's not us. But if it is,
exactly,
you're in the best place you can possibly be. And you can stand on that mountain and hold your hands up high because your results show for it, not just with your clients, but with the workforce that you're managing with over 700 people. That is incredible. And the fact that anyone would second guess that, it would be mind-blowing to me. I'm taking your advice right now. We're implementing it right now.
Listen, one of the beautiful things about building a business in this country is you can, as long as you do it legally and ethically, you can do it however you want. Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's awesome. I mean, I think that's the most amazing thing. But if you're interested in getting a little bit cleaner, if you're interested in being a little more efficient, if you're interested in any kind of productivity increase, I would highly recommend just spending a little bit of time with us.
$10 an hour. We're on it.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Robert. And thank you everyone who's watching Digital CEO. If you're watching live or you're watching a replay or you're watching a little snippet that we put on Facebook or Instagram, we would love to hear your feedback. Robert, final piece, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, our website's got some great information. It's just rocketstation.com. And also, you know, we've got to interview a few of the sharks from Shark Tank and have a few of their endorsements. So we've got some cool information on the website. If anybody would just like to scan that, go to rocketstation.com. If you want to contact us directly, I hope you're okay with this, Dennis. I'll just give an email for our development team. Greg Brooks leads our development team, and I haven't told him I'm doing this, so y'all should just surprise him.
Watch out.
And email him, but seriously, email Greg Brooks. It's just Brooks, BROOKS, at rocketstation.com. Tell us you heard me on the show or wherever you got the information, just Brooks at rocketstation.com, and we would be happy to spend a few minutes with you.
Well, fantastic. Wow, rock on.
Rocket
Pun
Station.
intended. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to in the live stream here in a moment, but for everyone who listened, entrepreneur, number 1, 2, 3 in your company, wherever you are, leave a note in the comments on YouTube or on social on the snippet of your biggest takeaway from our time here today, your biggest takeaway and how it affects your position, your organization, and how you're going to take this and use the advice. I have so many. I will actually be studying this call, but I know after the live stream, we've got to iron out some awesome details. Always like and subscribe to the Digital CEO Show, and Dennis and I will continue bringing amazing guests and training for the entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs out there serving the digital world.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you in the next episode.